Mortgage applications are dropping, and the St. Charles Seminary finally sold. Watch now. This is Toole Time. I am Tom Toole. She is Jess Lion.
Hello.
We've got Nick back behind the camera from his marriage, honeymoon, sabbatical, which is very exciting. So big congrats to Nick and his beautiful wife, Michelle. So this week, a little slow news week.
A little
Memorial
dry.
Day weekend. I think everyone was drinking spiked seltzers down on the beaches in South Jersey.
It's more exciting than this news.
I would disagree. So let's get into the first story here. Big property sale. The Archdiocese of Philadelphia finally sold the 75-acre seminary at the corner of City Line and Lancaster Avenue. St. Charles Seminary finally sold to Mainline Health. What do you think about all this, Jess?
Have you been there?
To the seminary? No, I'm not training to become a priest, but I've driven by it many times.
I've been there twice.
Okay.
And it's beautiful, and it's absolutely huge. I was there when my grandfather was ordained a deacon, and then I was there for a field trip in 8th grade. It was the most thrilling field trip of all. But I don't know what they're going to be using it for, Mainline Health. Do you have any idea?
So, what I know is this. They offered $43.5 million a couple years ago, according to a lawsuit.
Seems a little light.
Well, I don't know if that's the price. The price was undisclosed.
Okay.
What I also know is Mainline Health has been building everywhere, literally all over the place. And my suspicion from a couple inside sources is that they are looking to bring in-house services that they currently have to outsource, like assisted living, or they need more doctor's offices so they can have more patients in the hospital across the street. So and it's not gonna change right away. The seminary can be used up to 5 years by the current students, the faculty, whatever goes on there. I'm not familiar, even though I am a Roman Catholic, so it shows you how much I go to church. Do you go to church often?
No.
Okay, so the point is, I'm not surprised they were the buyer because it probably had a little more value to them. I know there was a lot of developers going after it. They're right there, and they already have a humongous campus, so I'm not surprised.
Huge. I think assisted living would be perfect for that kind of place. I mean, there's so much space. There's a pool in there. I don't know if anybody in assisted living is going to be using a pool. I don't even know if they use the pool. But it just seems like it's too much space for what's going on there. And I know a lot of the people in the community are kind of upset about it because it just brings so much more traffic to the area. And they're upset for, I was reading some of the comments, like what it's sold for and things like that. I mean, but
no one knows what it's sold for. It's undisclosed. So whoever's commenting that is...
I think they were looking at the 43.
Yeah. That was an initial offer, though,
Yeah.
and that was in a lawsuit about the use. So no one knows what it's sold for. Apparently, it was assessed or appraised at $68 million, but that doesn't really mean anything either. Right. We know that being in real estate. So, and what else were they going to use it for? I mean, were they going to build houses there? I think that would have ticked everyone off even more.
Right.
It's clearly an institutional usage. I know St. Joe's was apparently involved in the bidding. They would have turned into another college within the university. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what else they would have used it for. And I don't know if you've driven by the corner of Lancaster Ave and City Line, but there's already plenty of traffic there. I don't know. And these are people that are coming there to work. If it's doctor's offices, so I don't know that it's going to be adding more traffic. That seems like that's all people talk about in Lower Merion is parking and traffic. And I live there, so I know.
I think it's going to be exciting to see what they do with it. Hopefully they keep some of the land and maybe not build too much and take away from the... people were kind of upset about taking away from the historic, detail of the building or something like that.
I would imagine that was part of the transaction.
I think it was. I read something about that in an article. As a
historic building. So not only is that the case, but there's probably restrictive uses.
I feel like if they keep it that way and keep it beautiful, keep the land beautiful. I mean, we had picnics there, and it was absolutely gorgeous. So if they keep it that way and convert it to maybe something that they're saying, like the assisted living or continued use for the hospital, was it Lankenau?
Well, Mainline Health is the greater organization, so Lankenau is the hospital across the street. They also own Riddle, Paoli.
Okay.
They have the giant medical center right down the street from our office on Route 3.
Oh, yeah.
So they're in Lawrence Park. So this building wasn't getting used. It was sitting there empty. So if people want to have an empty building sitting around,
it's haunted.
That's great.
I'm just
kidding. I don't get the resistance to progress and developing areas that are not being used right now. And to me, this is right outside the city. It's going to bring in more jobs. It's going to Lankenau's a huge employer. Mainline Health's a huge employer. So this is going to help the local community. And the building's not just sitting there with,
3 priests.
Yeah, you might
That's
not be
an under-exaggeration.
I don't know what the numbers are, but I know less people are becoming priests. It's not the same sort of career that, if you want to call it that, a calling, whatever. Again, just because, I went to Catholic school for a long time doesn't mean that I have strong feelings one way or the other. To me, the building was sitting there vacant. They tried to sell it. They sold it to someone that it made sense for them. That's their right as a property owner.
Go for it.
So it sounds like we got 2 thumbs up on the sale.
This huge fence.
Yeah, the imaginary one. So next topic. So real estate related. This came out on May 29th. Mortgage applications dropped 3.3% nationally as the spring housing season draws to a close. I don't want to comment on this at all until we hear your side here, Jess.
I'm only going to speak to what I know and what I'm experiencing with my buyers now. Mortgage applications are dropping 3.3%, but I feel like inventory is still low and the good properties are going very fast, and it might take at least some of the buyers that I'm working with a little bit longer to find a property. So they're not making that initial application right away. It might take them a little bit longer, or they already did it. So I don't see this as, okay, applications are down like a huge deal.
So this article was on CNBC. Classic clickbait article, no question. And when you look at the stats on this, and actually you go into the article where they explain everything to you, mortgage applications for purchase were down 1%. So that means the 3.3% is accounting for refinances. Mm-hmm. Right now, rates are coming in about 4.3, 4.4%, historically low. Everyone's already refied that can refi. So, the rates aren't getting any lower, so it doesn't make sense for people to refinance. Even if you've got a rate a little higher than that, it doesn't make sense for you to do it. Typically, you have to have about a 0.5 point spread for it to make a difference when it comes up with costs, resetting the amortization schedule. And on top of that, last week was Memorial Day. So there's all these factors here. I don't see this
Everybody's applying for
a
mortgage.
Well, and banks are closed 4 days. They're closed. Well, not 4 days, 3 as opposed to 2. So, I don't know about you, but getting a hold of most mortgage brokers on a weekend is is an impossible task.
It can be tough.
It's hard, right? So,
yeah.
And the application doesn't get filed in their system until the week opens up, which would have been Tuesday. So, looking at this, I see a lot of clickbait, and what I also know is that mortgage applications year to date are up 7%. So it's not like they're down. They're just picking a week where making it sound like applications are down.
Yeah.
When everyone's down the shore, vacationing, taking time off, organizing their garage, whatever you want to do. So and rates are historically low, so that's naturally going to shut down the refinance market. So I look at this as a bunch of nonsense, and it's very misleading or clickbait.
Clickbait. Juicy news this week. That's what it was.
You know how many times this article comes out a year where they say mortgage applications are down week over week?
Probably
and they don't
10.
and they don't give the proper perspective here. And this is why it's tough being a consumer in real estate right now, because you see this news on CNBC, right? And you and I are telling people something different because we know the market.
Yeah.
Makes it tough for consumers. How do they filter out the noise?
People are pulling you one way, another way, and you really don't know. That's why you have to talk to someone. Talk to us.
No, well, talk to anybody. Don't go online to do all your research, I think is the moral of the story here, right? So, all right. So we both kind of agree here. Jess, you've got a quote for us to wrap up?
Yes, I do. This quote is one of Stacy Bauer from our team. It's really speaking to her this week. It's from Lance Armstrong. It says, "Pain is temporary. It may last a minute, an hour, a day, or even a year, but eventually it will subside and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it will last forever."
So we had these shirts made up when I was on the cross country team in high school, and there was 2 quotes that were on them the first 2 years. One is "Winners never quit and quitters never win." So that sounds pretty similar. And the second one is "Pain is temporary, pride is forever." So when you said this quote, I was interested because
took you back a little.
Well, probably more than a little. When I hear things like that, it's really true though, because when you quit, I mean, you know, that's a big decision that you have to make. You're saying and sometimes you need to quit. Sometimes it's the right move to quit. In the context of the quote here, I know he's talking about, you know, winning Tour de France's and all this other stuff. And say whatever you want about Lance Armstrong. I mean,
right.
that's a sport that's full of people that did the exact same thing he did. So it's like hating on Barry Bonds or Mark McGwire. I mean, everyone was doing it. So I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just, let's get some perspective. So. But in that sport, it's all about endurance. I mean, they're cycling hundreds of miles, and is it painful? Hell yeah. Is it going to take a long time? Absolutely. But when it subsides and the pain's over, you finish. Like you did something that most human beings can never do, or never even start, or never even try to do. So when they're saying something else takes its place, it's pride, it's endurance. It can be a lot of things, whatever you're looking for. But when you quit, I mean, there's no, you know, that's pretty much sums it up right there. I mean, you decided not to finish, and you made a commitment to start something but couldn't finish. And then it's few that finish. It's the people that start are the many.
Very few that finish. And I like how you pointed out what the pain gets replaced with. Pride or something like that. That's awesome. When I think of this, I think of learning an instrument. Because
what instrument?
Well,
the oboe?
No, not at all. The didgeridoo. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
No. Australian. But I'm talking to a few of my family members, and they struggle with, you know, persevering and continuing to learn a certain instrument or their voice lessons or things like that, and they don't want to do it anymore. And you push through, and if you quit, you will always regret, and you're left with this question, well, what if I did? And I feel like I'm reading this book right now, what's it called? Girl Stop Apologizing, and she's like, you are afraid of what you could be, basically. And if you quit, you will never know what you could be. And I feel like that wanting to quit is you just really latching onto that fear of your, you know, reaching your potential. So definitely do not quit. Go through the pain, because on the other side of the pain is going to be something that's really worth your while.
Yeah. I slightly disagree with you on the do not quit part, because sometimes you need to strategically quit if something is not working out for you.
I don't think we're talking about things that don't work out for you, or are not supposed to be good for you.
Fair enough.
Like quit smoking.
I mean, you know, but when you say quit in general, it's a very blanket topic. So when you strategically quit, though, what can you learn from, right? Like sometimes, like, I mean, there's been numerous things we've implemented here that just haven't worked out. Like I failed many ways. I'm sure we all have, right?
True.
And I remember that lesson because that lasts. And okay, why didn't this work, and how can we reboot it the next time? So there's a little more in the end of that quote than just don't quit. But if you're going to, you better learn something from it and be able to rebound and take a lesson away. So
I like that.
That's you know, there are times where it's important to do that, and you have to do it because if something's not working and you keep doing it, you better quit. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, so there's a little bit of that too. I know that's not necessarily what he's talking about here. Maybe he quit using performance-enhancing drugs. I mean, maybe that lasts forever with him. I don't know. So
we're going there.
We'll be back next week.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching.